All right, let me ask you something. Have you ever stopped to consider if everything you see, hear, and feel is actually real? Like, how do you know your reality isn't some kind of hallucination? What if I told you that right now, your brain is tricking you, literally creating the world you think you're living in? And no, this isn't some sci-fi movie plot or simulation theory. This is real, cutting-edge science. Today, we're breaking down the mind-blowing truth about how your brain hallucinates your conscious reality. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll question everything you thought you knew about yourself and the world around you. Let's start with something crazy. I bet you think you're fully here right now, right? You're watching this video, maybe sitting on your couch or lying in bed, and you feel pretty solid, like a real person in a real world. But here's the thing: that sense of being you, it's not as real as it feels. In fact, it's a kind of hallucination where your brain is running 24/7. And if your brain ever stops doing it, boom, you're gone. Let me explain. Have you ever had surgery and been put under anesthesia? If you've experienced this, you know what I'm talking about. 1 second you're there, and the next you're not. Total, absolute oblivion. It's not like sleeping where you kind of know time is passing. With anesthesia, it's like you just disappear. Your brain literally stops producing your sense of reality. When you wake up, you're back, but where were you in between? That's the mystery of consciousness, and it's one of the biggest questions in both science and philosophy. How does your brain make you happen? Here's what's wild: your conscious experience, your entire reality, isn't something you passively receive from the outside world. It's something your brain actively creates. Think about it this way: your brain is locked inside your skull. It's dark in there, and it can't hear or see anything directly. All it gets is raw electrical signals from your senses, your eyes, ears, skin, everything. And using those signals, it has to guess what's out there in the world. Yes, guess. Your brain is a prediction machine, constantly making its best guess about reality based on the sensory input it's receiving. And that guess? That's what you experience as reality.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Let me blow your mind with an example. Ever seen the checkerboard illusion? You look at two squares, one in a shadow, one outside of it, and they look like totally different shades of gray, right? But here's the kicker: they're actually the exact same shade. If you don't believe me, pause this video and look it up. Your brain is so convinced that shadows make things appear darker that it literally changes how you see the world. It's not just seeing what's there, it's interpreting it based on its expectations. And that interpretation is what you experience. So are you really seeing what's real, or just what your brain thinks is real? Now, let's take it a step further. Have you ever heard a distorted voice or sound you couldn't understand? It just sounds like noise, right? But the moment someone tells you what the sound is supposed to say, suddenly you can hear the words crystal clear. The sound didn't change. Your brain's interpretation did. What you consciously experience isn't the raw sensory input. It's your brain's best guess of what those inputs mean. So here's the million-dollar question: if your brain is basically guessing your reality, how much of what you experience is actually real? And how much of it is just a controlled hallucination? Think about that for a second. What if everything you think is out there is really just happening inside your head? All right, this is already trippy, but we're just getting started. In the next part, we're going to dive into something even crazier: how your brain creates your sense of self, the feeling of being you, and why that too is a hallucination. Stick around because what you're about to learn will seriously change the way you see yourself forever. Okay, so if you're still here, you're probably asking yourself, wait, if my brain is hallucinating reality, then what about me? Am I even real? And honestly, that's the right question. Because here's the shocking truth: the same way your brain hallucinates the world around you, it also hallucinates your sense of self. That feeling of being you, a single, unified person with a body, a mind, and a story. It's all just a construct your brain is constantly creating. And just like the outside world, it can fall apart if the brain gets it wrong. Let's start with your body. You probably feel like your body is yours, right? Like you're in control of it, and it's a part of who you are. But here's the thing: even your sense of having a body is a kind of controlled hallucination. There's this famous experiment called the rubber hand illusion. It's super simple, you could even try it at home. Someone hides your real hand and puts a fake rubber hand in front of you. Then they stroke both the fake hand and your hidden real hand at the same time. And guess what happens? After a while, your brain starts to believe the rubber hand is actually yours. It's insane. Your brain literally rewrites reality to include the fake hand as part of your body. That's how easily your sense of self can be hacked. But it gets even weirder. You don't just experience your body from the outside, you also experience it from the inside. Right now, your brain is constantly monitoring things like your heartbeat, your breathing, and your internal organs. But here's the twist: you don't actually feel those things unless something goes wrong, like a racing heart or a stomachache. Your brain doesn't care about giving you a detailed picture of your insides. Its main job is to keep you alive, so it only gives you just enough information to regulate your body. That's why your sense of being you is so deeply tied to your body. It's all about survival. Now, here's where things get really deep. If your brain can hallucinate your body, what about your personality, your memories, your sense of being a continuous person over time? Neuroscience shows that even this is just another layer of the illusion. People with certain brain injuries or disorders can lose their sense of self completely. They might not recognize their own reflection, or they might feel like they're watching someone else live their life. This proves that your sense of being you isn't some unchangeable truth, it's just another construction your brain is piecing together moment by moment. So, let me ask you, if your sense of self is just a hallucination, then who are you really? Are you the sum of your memories, your body, your thoughts, or something else entirely? Keep that question in mind as we move on to the final part. All right, this is it, the part where everything comes together. By now, you know that your brain hallucinates your reality and your sense of self. But here's the big question: why does this matter? Like, how does this knowledge actually help us in the real world? Well, here's the answer. Understanding how your brain creates these controlled hallucinations can change everything from how we treat mental illness to how we think about technology and even how we live our lives. Let's start with mental health. If your brain can misperceive the world, it can also misperceive you. This is what happens in conditions like depression, anxiety, and schizophrenia. People with these disorders often have distorted predictions about themselves and the world. For example, someone with depression might predict that they're worthless or that nothing will ever get better, and their brain reinforces that belief. But here's the hopeful part: if we can understand how the brain's predictions work, we can start to fix them. Instead of just treating the symptoms, we can actually get to the root of these disorders and help people see the world and themselves more clearly. Now, let's talk about AI. You've probably heard people say that one day robots will become conscious. But here's the thing, consciousness isn't just about being smart or processing information. It's about having a body, emotions, and a drive to survive. Without those things, a machine can't experience the world the way we do. So no matter how advanced AI gets, it's not going to wake up and start having feelings. That's because consciousness isn't just about the brain, it's about being alive. And finally, let's bring it back to you. If your reality and your sense of self are both controlled hallucinations, then the most important question is, how can you make those hallucinations work for you? The answer is simple: by recognizing that your brain's predictions aren't always accurate, you can start to take control. You can challenge your assumptions, question your beliefs, and rewire your brain to see the world and yourself in a more positive light. So here's my final question for you. If your brain is predicting your reality right now, what kind of reality do you want to create? Think about it. And remember, the world you see is just one version of reality. You have the power to change it. Thanks for watching. And if this blew your mind, share it with someone else who needs to hear it. Let's keep questioning, learning, and creating better realities together. See you in the next one. All right, so let's keep this going because there's so much more to unpack. The truth is, what you just learned about hallucinated reality and the self isn't just some abstract, cool-to-know science fact. It's the key to understanding some of the biggest challenges we face as individuals and as a society. I'm talking about your mental health, your relationships, your decisions, and even how we interact with future technologies. Let's break it all down to show you how this knowledge can actually transform your life. First, let's look at how this affects the way we handle stress, anxiety, and emotional struggles. Remember how we said your brain predicts your reality? Well, this doesn't just apply to how you see or hear things, it applies to how you feel about yourself and the world. For example, if you're constantly feeling anxious, it's not just because the world is scary. It's because your brain is over-predicting danger. It's running a survival algorithm that worked great when humans had to dodge lions, but now it's making you feel threatened in situations that aren't actually dangerous, like a meeting at work or a tough conversation with a friend. The good news? Once you understand that these feelings are part of your brain's predictive system, you can start to take the power back. For instance, when you feel anxious, instead of thinking, "This is just how I am," you can realize, "Wait, this is my brain making a prediction, and predictions can be wrong." That realization is huge, because it means you have room to question those feelings, to reframe them, and to change your brain's predictions over time. Here's a practical example. Let's say you're someone who always feels like you're going to fail. Every time you try something new, your brain predicts disaster, and you feel paralyzed. But what if you could override that prediction? What if you could teach your brain that success is just as possible as failure? That's what cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, does. It helps you challenge your brain's faulty predictions and replace them with better ones. And the science behind it ties directly to this idea of predictive perception. You're literally retraining your brain to hallucinate a better reality. Now let's zoom out for a second and think about relationships. How many arguments, misunderstandings, and heartbreaks happen because two people are experiencing completely different realities? Remember, your brain is guessing what's happening based on your past experiences, your emotions, and your expectations. And here's the kicker, so is theirs. So when you and someone else clash, it's not just about what they said or did, it's about how your brain interpreted it. Maybe they made a comment you thought was critical, but in their mind it was just a joke. Or maybe you assumed they didn't care about you because your brain predicted that based on a past relationship. But here's where this gets powerful. If you know that your brain is constantly guessing and that those guesses aren't always right, you can start to approach conflicts differently. Instead of assuming the worst, you can take a step back and ask yourself, is my brain's prediction accurate, Or is it just one version of the story? That tiny shift in perspective can completely change how you communicate, how you resolve conflicts, and how you connect with the people around you. Speaking of connection, let's talk about empathy for a second. Once you understand that everyone's reality is a hallucination, it becomes a lot easier to see things from someone else's point of view, because their brain is predicting their reality just like yours is. Maybe it's predicting that the world is hostile, or that they're unlovable, or that they have to fight to be heard. And when you understand that, instead of judging them or getting defensive, you can start to ask, what's shaping their hallucination? And how can I help them see things differently? That's empathy at its deepest level, not just understanding someone else's feelings, but understanding the mechanisms behind those feelings. All right, now let's switch gears and talk about something a little more futuristic: technology. You've probably heard all the hype about artificial intelligence, right? People are freaking out about whether machines will become conscious, whether they'll take over the world, or whether they'll replace humans altogether. But here's the thing: consciousness isn't just about processing information. It's about being a living, breathing organism. It's about having a body and emotions and a drive to survive. That's why your brain hallucinates reality in the first place, because it's trying to keep you alive. So when people say, what if AI becomes conscious? The real question is, can a machine ever have the same biological, emotional, and survival-based experiences that we do? And the answer, at least for now, is no. Sure, AI can get scary smart. It can analyze data, solve problems, and even mimic human behavior. But it doesn't have a body. It doesn't feel pain or joy. It doesn't have a heartbeat that it's trying to protect. And without those things, it's not going to experience the world or itself the way we do. So the next time someone says, AI is going to take over, you can remind them intelligence isn't the same as consciousness. And consciousness isn't just about having a brain, it's about being alive. Now, here's where I want to bring this back to you, because the real takeaway from all of this isn't just about science or technology. It's about how you live your life. If your brain is constantly predicting your reality, then the most important question is, what kind of reality are you letting it create? Are you letting it predict fear, failure, and rejection? Or are you training it to predict possibility, growth, and connection? Here's a simple exercise to try the next time you catch yourself feeling stuck, anxious, or overwhelmed. Pause and ask yourself, what is my brain predicting right now? And is that prediction helping me or holding me back? Just that moment of awareness can be enough to start shifting your perspective. Because once you see your brain's predictions for what they are, just guesses, not facts, you can start to rewrite them. And over time, those new predictions become your new reality. So let me leave you with this: your brain is incredibly powerful. It's creating your reality and your sense of self every second of every day. But it's not perfect. It makes mistakes. It gets stuck in old patterns. And it's up to you to take control, to challenge its predictions, to question its assumptions, and to create a reality that serves you. Because at the end of the day, your reality isn't something you find. It's something you create. If this video opened your eyes to a whole new way of thinking about yourself and the world, share it with someone else who needs to hear it. Let's start a conversation about what's real, what's possible, and how we can all create better realities together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.